Hey, what's up everybody, Zuko here, and welcome to the July edition of the Preorder Roundup, where we talk about the latest and greatest and maybe not so great figures of the previous month. Though, as you can see from the title and the fact that I'm on camera, we're actually going to be doing things a little bit differently this time. I'm going to be doing a tier list today, where I rank everything against each other from the month of July. I've set it up all here. I have a page of about like 70 pre-orders or so, and a list of like their rankings. Supreme Sculpts, amazing figures, pretty good, I know that's misspelled, shut up, could be better, and the duds, S through D. It's kind of self-explanatory. Hopefully there's not many things in the duds. I don't really plan to rank that many things, but we need something that is, you know, the worst of the worst, unfortunately. Now, just a couple of notes really quickly. I'm ranking things against each other only, so if something is like an S tier figure, I'm not saying that it's like as good as other S tier figures that maybe you already own or maybe that are already out. Like, it's just within this month against each other. And again, this is just my opinion. I might get a little bit more like negative in some instances, which I don't really like to do, but because I'm saying like this is better than that, it's naturally gonna probably come off as being a little bit harsher than usual. I'm gonna try not to, but in the event that happens, I apologize, and I recommend or even encourage you guys to argue with me on these points. If you think something is better than I'm stating it, let me know down below, or make a tier list of your own. I could link this in the comments if you want to do it yourself. But with that said, let's just get started. And I think the place I want to start off with is Marin from Dress Up Darling. Now, this is a figure that is extremely annoying to purchase. If you've been interested in buying this, then you already know that it's exclusive to the Aniplex store. I don't understand why that's got to be the case. It's almost like they just don't want us to buy it. But to the figure's credit, I do think they did a great, solid job. Like, this endearing smile that they've captured is a pretty good attempt at it. I don't think it's the perfect execution. It doesn't look like the anime or the manga specifically, but it is a really, like, you know, lovely face that I think I'd be happy if it was on my shelf. It's a nice looking figure. The pose is lively, the hair gradient turning into the pink looks great, love that. Just the little charms on her bag add a bit of personality, and from the back, you even get to see her butt if you decide to turn her around. So there's some key things about this figure that are great, but I don't think I could really put it above the B tier because there's nothing like exceptionally great about it, but there's nothing horrible about it either, so I think B tier is the place I'm gonna put it. Let's do Mari next. I need to explain this actually because I'm doing Nendoroids and scale figures together. Now, I'm not trying to say that these two are comparable, right? Like, this is not a better figure than this just because I rank it higher. These are just my recommendations. But because I didn't want to make two tier lists, I'm leaving it up to you guys to understand that a Nendoroid and a scale figure are not the same quality. I'm just saying that yes, this is an amazing Nendoroid and I would highly recommend it. This is a pretty good scale and I would recommend it, right? Like, that's all I'm really trying to say. This is not necessarily better than this, just so we clarify, okay? But as for Mari, I do think she's an amazing figure. If I could pull up her page really quick, she's got amazing faceplates just like Yumeko. Like this one, this hopeless face, horrifying. It looks amazing. And this one where she's like super excited, one of the best faceplates I've seen in a while. But the problem with this Nendoroid that Yumeko really didn't have is that she has no accessories besides this tag. So they kind of phoned it in a little bit, or they could have given her some cards or some chips or something, like anything to just give her one extra accessory. And because of that, I can't put her in S. Like, I would put Yumeko in S if I was talking about her right now, because I think she's the complete package. But Mari is just missing a little bit, and I'm gonna have to put her in A, which is still great. I would recommend this figure like 9 times out of 10, but I think she needs a little bit more to really solidify herself as like a supreme Nendoroid. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I think I want to talk about the OTS 14 girl next, the heavy damage version, which you might not have even seen this figure before considering that it's not on MFC. It's sold out, unfortunately, but regardless, whatever the case may be, this is a heavy damage version of OTS 14, which essentially means that a lot of her clothes are ripped up. Now, she's wearing this nice dress, but I don't really think the paint job is particularly that nice. Like, I'm not impressed by this dress sculpt, unfortunately. I don't think the colors pop on it. Considering it's like supposed to be a pretty elegant dress, I think that's kind of a problem. And even like the back here, like the dress seems a little bit too thick where it's ripped, and I just think it looks a little bit chunky in the execution. I just don't like it that much. Yeah, we get like nice fan service with her butt showing, the thighs, the feet. That's cool and all, but I don't know, I'm not really impressed by the paint job. I will say though that I think her face looks amazing. Like, I love this expression in those eyes. Super good. And the other thing I want to note really quickly, if I can find it, besides this really big base she's sitting on, she also comes with this giant briefcase. It's a really nice looking suitcase, and it has this like wooden finish to it, but on the inside there's just like an entire extra gun with this lining of like velvety material. It looks premium. And I think that's where a lot of the money is coming from. They're not even asking that much for this figure. It's about 23,000 yen, considering you get her with like the clothing detail, the gun that she's holding on to, apparently some nice feet sculpting. I appreciate that image right there. And you could take all those gun pieces out and just place them around her to basically set up the scene that I assume this art card originally looked like. So I think there's a lot going for this figure. It looks pretty good, but I can't really tell how nice this paint job is going to be. So I like things about it, I don't like some things about it. I'm going to place her in the pretty good because I'm just not exactly sure how she's going to turn out. Tokyo Mew Mew New Mew Ichigo. Now this was a pretty exciting announcement because we never really got figures from this series. This is the reboot, so it's not the original design. But regardless, I think it's still exciting to get a figure of Ichigo. I remember when this was first announced, I went to MFC, I read all the comments, people were kind of freaking out. And then we got this price tag of 23,000 yen, which is really expensive considering we just saw a figure that was exactly the same price with way more going on. And I don't know, I just feel like they're kind of taking advantage of their fans. Like, this is a really cute figure. I don't think it's particularly like super well detailed or anything. It looks as it should. I don't really love this like puffy, I don't know, skirt that she has on. It looks okay. Like, I'm not really blown away by this sculpt. I think her face looks really good. It looks very accurate to the source material, and this red hair I think is really nice as well. And it's a cute pose. Like, this is a nice figure. There's not really that much to talk about. I think people who like this character know if they want to order this one or not. So I'm actually going to place her in pretty good as well. I think she's solid, just a little too much money. Little Illustrious from Azure Lane. Now this should be a banger figure. This is extremely cute. Little heart base, the runway that kind of looks like a flag or something that the biplane is carrying. I think that's a really cute detail that's not actually on the original artwork. So props for them for thinking of that. Then like the dress looks really good. The little bells on the bag, which is kind of, I don't know, like rabbit shaped. It's adorable. A lot of this figure is adorable. The palette's really soft, and the pose is cute as well. So what don't I like about this figure? You might have noticed it when I was looking at this image, but her face is not the right shape. It looks like an oval, which is more like, I don't know, indicative of an adult. It doesn't look like a lolly character, in my opinion. It kind of looks like they took an adult's head and slapped it on this kid's body. And to me, it just looks wrong. Now, I did find artwork of what she originally looked like, and I don't really think they look the same. I really do think something was lost in translation here. You could see that it's a bit more round, it's a bit cutesier. Then I jump back to the figure, and it just kind of looks off to me. And maybe you disagree with this one, and that's totally fine. If you don't see this problem, then I would recommend this one for sure. I think they've done a great job sculpting this figure. But for me, in that face shape, I think it could be better. Like, I think that's enough of a flaw for me, where I think they actually have to go back and improve on it. So we're filling out the list now. Let's do a dud. So which one of these do I think is actually pretty bad? I'm gonna put it as Albedo. And I've been saying her name wrong this whole time. I apologize, but I finally started watching Overlord, and I realized it's Albedo and not Albedo. Anyway, let's talk about the Albedo Wing version museum collection. Essentially what this is a figure that's trying to be like marble, like something you would see when you actually went to some museum. And I just don't feel like that's coming across at all. Like, yeah, it's not exactly a prototype figure, even though from initial viewing, you would assume that this figure is just not painted. There's a bit more shading, right? That or there's like a lot of Photoshop and lighting manipulation, which is totally valid. Unfortunately, I don't think we've seen this on display anywhere. I certainly think this is a bit too expensive. 24,000 yen when the original one cost 29,000 yen just seems kind of like a ripoff. Yeah, you can argue that it's not just a prototype, but it still looks like they didn't really put any work into this figure and are just repurposing it for a different audience. And I just don't really like it, so I'm gonna place it in the duds for now, unfortunately. So I've been a little negative these past two. Let's grab one that I think is a supreme sculpt. Which of these figures deserves to be in the top tier? It's gotta be Mob. I think Mob is a great, even perfect Nendoroid. Now, thanks to his character design, you don't really need that much. But I think they actually did go a little bit beyond what I expected them to do. Not only is this just an exciting announcement because we're finally getting Mob figures, but I think they did a great job. All of his faceplates are great. He comes with like the normal one, which looks exactly like he always does. The cutesy smiling face, adorable. And then even the one where he's awakened, which I did not see them doing at all. Not to mention he also comes with Dimple, which again, I just didn't think they would bother doing. But it does kind of complete the trio with Reagan coming up kind of shortly. I think he's great. I think anyone who likes Mob Psycho would love this little Nendoroid, and I expect him to sell extremely well. Which does take me to our next point of Reagan. Now Reagan, I really don't think they did as much as they could have with him. Being what I would call the best character in the show, he had a lot to live up to. But I don't think they really went hard enough with his sculpt. Like this faceplate and this setup right here looks perfect. Perfectly fine. But then you get to this faceplate, and it's just like the most boring faceplate you could have possibly given Reagan. This is such an expressive character, and considering we only have one more where he's shocked on the phone, really leaves me wanting more. Not to mention, all he really comes with is like a business card, a cell phone, and then, if I can find it, the salt bag, which is kind of boring and doesn't look that good in my opinion, and an empty bowl of ramen. At least Mob got a full bowl, so it's like a little bit more detailed, but judging from this picture, he's got an empty bowl, so it's even like less of an accessory than what Mob got. And it hurts me to say, like, I really like Reagan, he's my favorite character, and I think it's okay, but because of how much, like, he should have brought to the table, I'm gonna put him in could be better. Like, I would not blame you if you think he belongs anywhere else on this list. I really wouldn't. And I wouldn't even try and stop you from buying this Nendoroid because it's Reagan. Everybody loves Reagan. But I really just think he deserves better, so I'm unfortunately gonna place him right here. Toru got a bunny figure, and I think that's great. It's kind of like Mob Psycho where we're finally getting Dragon-made stuff. And I think they did a great job with her face, which is probably the most important thing on a bunny in my opinion. Like, yeah, they gotta look sexy, but a lot of the times, like, the body kind of looks the same, like they don't do too much with it. Besides, like, wearing the gloves that she would typically have and keeping the horns on her, which I think is important, it's a pretty standard bunny sculpt, but I think that's okay. Like, some people would rather have, like, the dragon tail, and they would want her to have something more like a maid outfit with this bunny suit, but for one, I don't feel like she needs the dragon tail. Like, yes, it would be exciting if she had it, and they might make a different version with it in the future. But she's not always seen with the dragon tail, so this doesn't look weird to me in any way. It's just people wanting a little bit more. Same with the maid outfit. Like, yeah, I could kind of agree to more of an extent that making this a bit more unique would go further. But if you want her to have a dragon tail, you want her to have a maid costume outfit, you want to take away the ears, which I've seen people talk about, just ask for like a normal figure of Toru at that point. For what this is, I think it's great. I'm actually going to put it in the A tier. I think they did a great job with her, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy with this one. But we may see another version of her in the future. You know what? I normally do bunny figures at the same time, so I guess I'm just going to do that now. And what better place to continue than with these two? Now, these are pretty interesting. Now, these are the Kano Sisters. They're like famous celebrities in some sense. They had an anime that I know people like to meme on. I forget what it's called. It might be like Abunai Sisters or something. Doesn't really matter. They decided to make these 1/4 scale figures of them, and they look a little weird, and I feel bad not loving them because they're really just trying to look like the actresses, but I don't think they've done a good job trying to be like, I don't know, realistic with the face sculpts. Like, it still kind of looks like an anime figure, but in the middle point where it's still trying to look like a person, and it's a bit uncanny. Like, yeah, their body sculpts are great, and they're actually cast-offable, which is cool, but I don't really like them. And I don't really want to rag on them too much because it makes me feel like I'm just being mean to, like, people in the real world. But I don't know. I don't hate this one, but I will say that, like, their hair doesn't look great. Like, yeah, the sculpting's fine, but it almost looks like there's zero attempt at shading them, and then you're just kind of left with this, like, really bland blob of red plastic all over this figure. So, besides appreciating their sexy bodies, I don't really see the value in these. Now, just to give my honest opinion, I think, which one is this, Mika or Kyoko? Kyoko is a dud. I just think her face does not look very good, and she looks better in person, and then Mika looks slightly better, but I don't know. These are really weird releases for me, and I just don't like them. Sorry. Ayla from Strike Witches is getting a bunny figure, though it's not a bunny, like, at all. I don't know why they classified this as a bunny, considering it's got, like, a fox tail and ears or something. I don't know which animal this is supposed to be, but I'm not really impressed with this one. Like, in 2022, this feels like a figure that should have came out, like, 8 years ago. And for a premium price tag, I wish they did a little bit more with it. I don't know if I'm being too harsh on this figure, though, because Toru is kind of the same, but there's certainly a demand for it. Whereas this one, I don't know, man, it just doesn't do anything for me. And I kind of just want to put it in C tier because I'm just so underwhelmed by it. I don't really think it's that bad, but I guess I don't think these two are that bad either. They just have, like, a thing that's wrong with them, so a C tier is fine. It's not a big deal. Oh shit, I forgot about Rimuru getting a bunny figure. This one is also kind of interesting. It was very exciting when this got announced, but I think after, like, the first hour or so, people weren't really loving it, myself included. This pose is so stiff, and I have no idea why they chose it. People have photoshopped him next to, like, an uncooked turkey, which you've probably seen before, and it looks exactly the same, and it's so ridiculous, and it really ruins the figure as soon as you see that image. People have been photoshopping this nonstop, trying to, like, make some sense out of it, and maybe, like, make something better, which is always a bad sign when people are just not happy with what Freeing is putting out. But either way, apparently, like, Rimuru also has a canon bunny suit that they've worn before, and it's not here. It's just, like, the straight up basic suit. And I don't know, I'm not really impressed with this one either. Like, I guess it looks okay. If I just, like, run through the images real quickly, like, it looks fine. Like, the blue hair looks decently well shaded. And I guess the butt is firm. But other than that, like, I can't get over this pose. It just sucks. Like, it's just so boring, I guess. And I think I'm going to have to put it as a C tier because I'm just not really that impressed with this one either. I don't know what Freeing is doing this month, but I'm not really loving it. This Denji scale is so fucking cool, man. There's so much blood flying out of the demon that he's slaying. It's all over his shirt and his chainsaws and his arms. It's so gory. I guess I'm not really used to seeing that kind of stuff on Ami, but as someone who really likes Chainsaw Man, someone who's bought all the manga, has read through it all twice, I think they've done a great job here. Like, this is the art from Volume 1, and I really couldn't have asked for, like, a better interpretation of that art. I think they did a spot-on job. It just looks sick. I think anyone who can afford this is going to be in for one hell of a figure, but I do think the price tag for a 1/7 scale is a bit too much. But if you want something raw, you want something cool, and you want something that's going to look amazing on a shelf, I think this one is one to definitely get. So, I'm going to put him an S. I think they've done a great job. So Furyu is making a power scale as well. Now this one is based off of Volume 2, I'm pretty sure, where she's first introduced. The best part about this figure, without a doubt, are these blood weapons that she made, that she's, like, standing on and holding on to, like the scythe and the hammer, the cleavers over here. Like, the gradients that are on this, like that red paint, looks so freaking good. But the rest of her doesn't. It looks a bit flat. Like, I don't know, man. I think they could have done a much better job painting power than they actually did. everything just comes off as like, I don't know, one notes. Like, it's really not very impressive. But, I don't know, man. Denji was such a better sculpt with better paint, a cooler pose, which is really cheating because it's Volume 1's cover art. But yeah, I just think that Eastream did a much better job. It's still okay, though. Like, I don't think it's bad by any means. But I'm gonna put it in B tier for now. Maybe even C in the future just because, like, I don't think she herself looks that great. But, I don't know. Tsubasa from Symphogear. Now, this is not a series I've ever seen, but I've always liked most of the figures from this show because they feel so full of life and energy. I love how, like, badass they look. And it kind of makes up for the fact that a lot of them don't have a ton of detail on them. Like, the paint jobs are serviceable. They seem to be going for, like, anime accuracy. Instead of being like, I don't know, if these are, like, metallic armor, maybe even, like, robot parts, then there's not really much to really lend itself to looking very impressive because there's not, like, panel lining on them. There's not, like, battle damage on them. I don't know exactly what they're supposed to be, but they kind of come across as being a little flat. Not, like, bad by any means, but it really does feel like anime accuracy is what they want to go for. And it's a dynamic pose, too. I love how, like, in the moment it is. It feels, again, full of life and energy. So I really do like this one. I think she looks badass. And even though the price tag is a bit high, I would still say that she deserves to be in the amazing tier. I think she does look that good. Kirika, on the other hand, I feel like is not working out very well, though. Like, despite the lack of detailing being, like, a positive for the Tsubasa figure, I feel like here with the pole dancer pose, trying to emphasize her sexiness, I just don't feel like they're really going hard enough with her body sculpt or the paint job to really warrant this figure working out. I honestly think this figure looks a bit cheap and very unimpressive. Like, I don't really know who this is marketed towards. Maybe this character does this all the time in the show, but I know I've seen other figures of her where she looked a lot better. So despite this being the same company and they're coming out at like the same time, I just feel like this one is much worse. In fact, I'm gonna put it as low as I can. I couldn't find her for a second, but she's going in the duds, which maybe is a little harsh, but personally, I just don't like this figure very much. Lumine and Aether, I think, are great. I think they're A tier for sure. It's just nice that Kotobukiya is making these really affordable and quite lovely looking Genshin Impact figures with the added bonus of Aether being the first male character, as far as I'm aware, to get a proper scale from one of these, like, mainstream companies. It's just nice to see, and I think their color palettes are really, like, easy on the eyes. They both look fantastic, and I'm gonna place them in A tier. Debris from Astrum Design. This is a company that I'm really, like, always trying to keep my eye out on, because they make some good stuff. Though this is pretty premium, though I am looking at the limited edition, so maybe it's a little cheaper at the normal version of it. A little bit, but whatever. It doesn't really matter because this figure is pretty freaking cool. Look at this body sculpt. That is a nice tummy right there. But if I could find an image from the back, does she have one of those? Let me see. Yeah, this transparent coat looks so good. One of my favorite, like, I don't know, see-through clothing pieces I've seen on a figure in, I don't know, a long time. I don't really like transparency when it comes to clothing, but I think they've done a really good job here with the colors of it. I guess just having those, like, different tones within the sculpt of the see-through plastic just make it look that much nicer. And that, like, corporate logo really does just make it look official. This figure just looks good all around. Her face looks really cool. The violet hair and, like, the green sunglasses work really well together along with the coat's colors. The body's really sexy, like the pose she's making, the toned stomach, it's all there. This one's getting an A, it has to. Maybe even an S, I don't know. I feel like it's a step above the things I've put in the A so far, so I'm gonna put her an S. I think she's really, really nice. This figure just makes me laugh, man. I don't know what they were thinking with this face, but I actually kind of like it in a goofy way. Like, I don't think this is a really nice looking sculpt, but it does have, like, a unique charm about it? I don't know. It also does have a second faceplate, if I could find it really quickly, which I don't like nearly as much. I mean, the pose is very cutesy with her hand sticking out, but I think it just works so much better with this, like, almost creepy in a way smile. She's just so happy, and also staring downwards, that I get these weird vibes from her, but I kind of like it nonetheless. There's also this figure of the same girl from Furyu, though she looks completely different. She kind of looks like the author's other work, the Takagi girl, which does make sense considering it's kind of the same art style. But this figure, when I look at both of them, I kind of like the more unhinged look of this Helios figure instead. Though I do think the paint and like the sculpting looks nicer on the Furyu model. They're both very cheap, but I don't think either one of them are anything to write home about. So I would honestly put both of them in the could be better. I mean, if you like the show, you probably are fine with one of these two. But I think overall, from what I've been seeing so far this month, they could be better. This one's tough for me because I really like Kentaro Yabuki, but I think it's kind of strange that they went back to the 2010 version of Racing Miku and make a modern figure of it. Like, his art style really carries whatever he draws, and I think this Miku looks lovely, but it also feels really outdated at the same time, being this really old version of Miku that I don't think a lot of people, including myself, are very excited to see. It's a little pricey for what it is too. I don't think there's anything that extravagant about it, but like the way they painted her body and her hair looks great. Like, the shading is on point, the clothing is like really shiny, her face looks super cute because of Kentaro Yabuki's art, but I don't know, I feel like I shouldn't rank this as an A and instead put it as a B. I just think there's so many other Miku scales that, like, if this was a different character, I would probably put it in the A tier. But because there's so many Mikus now, and honestly so many better ones, I think she can only be B tier. Hurts me a little bit to say that, but I think I'm gonna settle on the B. I'm so biased towards this one. I freaking love Irza Scarlett, and I'm trying to decide if I should rank her S or A. Like, I think Max Factory have done a perfect job with this character. Her hair looks so full, the sculpting of the twin tails looks so nice. Everything from like the clothing looks super vibrant, the blues and the whites and all that gold trim along the skirt. It's just so pretty. And even like, I don't know, stuff like her body proportions. She looks thick without looking ridiculous. She looks healthy. I love that. I don't know, man. Just like everything about this figure is speaking to me. Even like this marble base, which actually does look like marble, unlike that Albedo figure from earlier. Like, I don't know, even from the back, doesn't this just look so good? It just looks so well shaded. I just love this one so much. You know what? I'm gonna put it at S because this is my list, and I don't really care. I'm gonna give myself this one, okay? I deserve it. Going out of my way to make this list, and I love her, alright? I need to do this for myself. My own sanity just needs it to be in the S tier. I keep forgetting to minimize my recording software. I'm hiding shampoo. That was like the whole point, was to have shampoo on the other screen. Anyway, this is Irza Scarlett XL. I'm kind of making it a habit to talk about the XL figures as they feel a bit more, I don't know, like an event, because they don't happen that often. But, I don't know, like, I feel like her face is not right. Like, if I even go back to the older version of the pop-up parade, I think she looks a lot better here. Doesn't this look a bit more like the fairy tale art style? Her armor looks great. I think they painted it really well, at least for what, you know, the promotional images are showing me. But, I mean, Fairy Tail's got a really distinct art style, and if you're not gonna hit that on the head, then I don't really think I can praise this figure. It's probably, it might be my least favorite of the XL Fairy Tail figures so far, so I'm gonna give it another C tier, unfortunately. Star Guardian Jinx, I think this is a proper S tier. There's one thing I don't like about this figure, and it's the base. But everything about her looks phenomenal. I think they did a fantastic job taking the splash art and making it into a figure. They had to take a couple of liberties, but I don't know, this hair sculpt looks out of this world. The pose is really cool, and all that gold paint really makes this figure pop. But that dust cloud looks really cheap, and I'm just not impressed at the execution. It looks really flat the way they painted it, and even this like whooshy effect part doesn't really add a lot to this figure either. Maybe it's for stability's sake, but I don't know, everything when it comes to the effects of this figure aren't really working for me, but I think everything else carries it way above any problem I have, and I just think she looks really cool. Like, isn't this like a really good face? Like, I don't know, I just love it. It's not really an expression we always get on figures. She looks like a badass, and I like that. You know who else is an S tier though? Fucking Spongebob. I'm serious, I think he came out perfectly. It's fully realized Spongebob. What they did here was make 2 faceplates, which is maybe not a lot, you're thinking, but he has 3 sets of different eyes, which is something they like to do with Western or very cartoony characters, because it lets you swap out and it doesn't waste a lot of plastic, and it still gives you a very expressive character. But if I could scroll down a little bit to this one right here, this is what really wins me over. Because not only does SpongeBob look perfect, just like he is out of the cartoon minus the black outline, which would be kind of hard to do on a figure, but also the way they sculpted the accessories looks exactly like the SpongeBob art style. Now you might be thinking, of course it does, but for something as tiny as a spatula and his chef hat and even the Krabby Patty, you could tell that these things come straight from the cartoon. And it means a lot to me. As someone who obviously grew up with SpongeBob like many of you have, I think getting something like this in 2022 from a Japanese company is so unheard of, but it really is just great. I don't know. I think they really did a good job here. He also comes with freaking Gary, the perfect pet accessory. So this package nearly feels complete, with the exception of not having bubbles. I really feel like he should have had bubbles to make this the absolute perfect, definitive SpongeBob toy. But everything that he does come with makes it more than worth it, in my opinion. Though I may be speaking to the wrong audience trying to sell this on you guys, because this is an anime channel. But SpongeBob's based, and I think this one's amazing. Thanatos actually came out better than I thought he would. I kind of thought they would just use him as an excuse to give Zagreus more accessories and weapons. But in fact, they gave him his own set of unique things, along with the scythe, which looks amazing. He also comes with a a butterfly and Morts, which I'll find images of as we keep talking about him. I think he looks really good. He only has 2 faceplates, I think, which both look very similar, unfortunately. Yeah, I would have definitely liked something a little bit different in terms of expressions, but when the rest of the Nendoroid looks this good, this is a really nicely sculpted Nendoroid, then I think I gotta give him the A. I think he deserves the A, if I could find him on this list, and solidify my opinion of that. Chocola and Vanilla made swimsuit figures. Now these are pretty cute, and honestly, a nice idea to incorporate their maid costumes into swimsuits. It's certainly more interesting than if they just threw them into typical bikinis. These are solid. I don't think they're super interesting, because we get a lot of Nekopara figures, and I would argue others have looked a lot cuter than these two. But don't get me wrong, they are still cute, and I still do like them. I just don't think they're anything extravagant or super special. So I'm gonna throw them in B. I think they're pretty good. Gyu from Demon Slayer, I think, is an amazing figure. I think it's an A tier for sure. Not everybody's gonna agree with me on this one because his pose is a little boring, but I know that the alter quality means that this guy is going to look beautiful when he's done. And just like the Shinobu figure, it has a bit of a graceful aura to it. It's very elegant, it's very pretty, and compared to that Shinobu, I think the water effect they've done here looks a lot better, which does add up to a slightly bigger price tag, along with the fact that everything costs more money these days. But yeah, I don't know, sometimes simple figures are fine. Something just like Gyu taking out the sword from the sheath, getting ready to do some cool ass attack is perfectly fine by me. And I guess I'm really speaking from experience of the other figure they've made from Demon Slayer. Or I guess they made a few at this point, but I only have the Shinobu. I just know he's gonna look amazing, and I really like it, so I'm gonna give him A. Nana Komatsu and Nana Osaki are both getting figures for what I think is the first time ever. I have never seen a figure from Nana in the 10 plus years I've been collecting. So right off the bat, these two are exciting just for that alone. But I think Hobby Max Japan have done a great job with these two. Now, I've never seen Nana, so I don't know how faithful their designs are. But, from an outsider's perspective, I think they both look lovely. And I really like how contrasting they both are against each other. Komatsu has these really pretty sunflowers all around here. Meanwhile, Osaki has roses instead. Though I guess I don't really understand why they use clear plastic for the stems instead of using just green paint. I guess it doesn't really matter though. Maybe it would clash with the colors of the rest of the figure. So if that's a totally valid reason to change it, if that's the case. They both look really nice. I think I like Komatsu a little bit more. Her face is really pretty, and I love that outfit that she's wearing. Osaki looks cool, don't get me wrong. I love her stockings, I love her giant heeled shoes, even the hat. Though I feel like the top that she's wearing kind of looks a little bit cheap. don't love the way they did the texturing on this top. But besides that, I think these two are amazing, and they deserve to be in the A tier, absolutely. So the only reason I really want to talk about this No Way Home version of Spider-Man are the last few accessories that he comes with. Everything else about him looks great. Spider-Man just like lends himself to getting really nice looking figures because his design is basically perfect. And most of this does look really nice, but these last few accessories right here are really where it's at. You get Doc Ock's claw, Lizard's tail, you get Green Goblin's bombs, and you get the Sandman's arm. It's just really cool that they actually made sure to sculpt all of these pieces instead of doing that like cheap acrylic plastic crap that no one ever gets excited about. And it looks really cool. It actually does look like it might be worth the high asking price of 9,800 yen. I don't think a lot of people watching this are going to run out and buy this one, but I did want to acknowledge that it's a pretty solid Spider-Man Nendoroid, and I'm going to give it a B. If it was cheaper, I'd bump it up, but it still is very expensive, so I kind of want to leave it at the B tier. You want to talk about a Nendoroid that's way too expensive, though? We got Coconut Alba for 7,900 yen. And I really can't justify it at all, as much as I think about it, why this figure would cost so much. All she comes with are 3 faceplates, which are cute, don't get me wrong, a piece of pound cake, the starry eyes, which are nice, and a walking stick. Why does this cost 7,900 yen? There's absolutely no reason this is so expensive. The license for this series must be way too much money, because outside of like the hair sculpt, I have no idea why this would be so pricey. So that alone, I think, kind of warrants her being in the could be better. Give her more faceplates, give her more accessories, or make her price cheaper. Don't make it so expensive for no reason, alright? Alright. Kuro from Prisma Ilia, I'd give a B. I think she's solid. She comes with a good amount of stuff. She gets both of her swords, a really cute smiling faceplate, the bow if you want to use that, a devilish up to no good face, which is probably her best accessory, or faceplate rather. And then she also gets to set up the scene where she's trying to kiss, or I guess she does kiss Miu. So they clearly know why people are buying these Nendoroids, and yeah, it's good. 6,500 yen, not unreasonable at all in my opinion, and it's a good one. Okay guys, so this next one is a pretty big one that we gotta talk about. Gilgamesh from Fate Grand Order. And you might be thinking, just put him in S, he looks amazing. You talked about him non-stop when he was showing off at Mega Expo. I had a lot of nice things to say, so you would think I put him in S. But we learned a couple of things, or at least one important thing, at a Fate festival that we didn't know beforehand. Now, just judging from these images, he looks amazing. I think they did a like 10 out of 10 job sculpting and painting this guy. But when they showed him at the Fate festival, whatever this festival was, he had a support beam holding up the chain. Now, this unsightly thing may not be there in the final product. It doesn't really look like something that we, the consumer, would get when we buy this figure and receive it. It's really thick. It looks like something that was hastily done to make sure he wouldn't break during transit or during, I don't know, the exhibition. But that's the problem, is that we don't know. We don't know if this is what the final figure is going to look like. And to have this giant acrylic beam right in the front of the figure really takes away from the beauty of the rest of the sculpt. It doesn't make it terrible, but it does mean you're going to look at this thing every time you look at this figure. It's right in the front. And I don't know why they couldn't just like find some areas around his body to slot in the chain, you know what I mean? Just like little peg holes on the armor, on the cape, stuff like that to support it if it really was that heavy. So unfortunately, while I think the gold paint looks stunning, the red cape and all that stuff looks amazing, I'm gonna give him A. I think this is a big flaw that they should have shown off originally because it got a lot of people excited, and now that they see this, mixed opinions. So I don't really know what to think about this guy. If he doesn't have that support rod, I'm putting him back in S, but for now, I'm gonna leave him in A tier. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put Banju in S tier. I think he absolutely deserves it. This is such a good figure of Banju. The perfect pose, menacing as fuck, and the fact that he is, like I said earlier in some other video, like 99% black paint and still looks like he has good shading and tons of detailing is really impressive to me. I think my favorite detail is the tail though. This is such a good sculpt. It looks like something off of Godzilla. Other things about this figure is that his visor lights up if you want to put a battery inside. I think even the back compartment opens up if you want to put a cookie in there or something. Don't put food in your figures. Maybe a battery goes in there. I don't actually know. But it's cool that it opens up just for the sake of, like, I don't know, variety. It's an unnecessary detail for sure, but it's just craftsmanship at its peak, I suppose. Yeah, just a cool-ass pose. He stands on a base of a bunch of rocks with all those cartridges leaking out. I just think he's badass. If he was a little bit cheaper, I probably would have pre-ordered this already. But, man, he really does cost a pretty penny, so I don't know if I can do it, but I really do appreciate how good this figure looks. I think it's time we add another to the duds, and unfortunately, it's gonna be this guy. Now, this is probably the worst release of the month. And you might be thinking, hey, that's the colossal Nendoroid. I might even have that. Why is that here? Well, they've made a renewal version of it. And what this basically means is that for more money, you can get less accessories. And that's it. It's just a shittier version of the older Nendoroid, and they expect you to pay more money for it. You get less houses, you don't even get like the characters flying around with like the smoke trails. It just feels like a huge waste of time and kind of a slap in the face to anybody who missed out on that initial release. Like, who is satisfied by that? I really feel like this is just kind of mean and doesn't really make anybody happy. So I don't have any problem calling this a dud. I would recommend just hunting down the older one if you really like this Nendoroid set, because if you buy this, you're just going to be upset that you don't have the rest of the accessories. Okay, so next up we have the Rin and Len Symfony 2022 Nendoroids to go along with the Miku one, which you might already own. I think that's out by now, but I haven't been like keeping track of it. These two are beautiful. They have amazing paint jobs. They really made sure to polish these two to perfection. The pearlescent white and the really shiny gold paint looks premium. But you might notice that they come with 0 accessories. It's all about posing, and it's all about the way they were painted. Now, is that a problem? I mean, a little bit, but considering how much is emphasized on the way they just physically look, I think it's okay. These really do look like some of the best paint jobs on Nendoroids you can get. So I do want to give it a little bit of a pass because they're really not trying to make these anything more than chibi-like versions of these characters, but also looking beautiful. So despite the lack of accessories, kind of like with Mari, I am going to give them A's because I do think they actually deserve it. They look great, they look stunning, and I think they deserve their place pretty high on the tier list. I really wish this character wasn't stuck on a smartphone because maybe I would actually want this if I knew who she was. I do like Nier, but I just don't really want to play that game. Look how cute this mama character is, and she even comes with this like little birdie friend. I love this birdie. It's so cartoony. I love his giant eyeball. All of her faceplates are really sad, except for this one, which almost looks like she's dead inside, so I don't really consider that to be very happy. And then she's even crying. It's so depressing, to the point where she's like smacked down on the floor, like geez. Though it looks like Mama's ready to cook her some food, so I'm sure she'll be okay. It's very cute. I actually like this one a lot. Despite not knowing her, I'm actually gonna throw her pretty high on the list. Where is she? I think she's pretty dang good. I like her a lot. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that this company, Orange Rouge, who only makes male characters and typically only makes Nendoroids and pop-up parades for them, can churn out a scale figure that looks this nice, and they never do anything else? What the hell is their problem, dude? If they can make figures that look this good, make more of them. Like, we don't get enough male figures unless they're from, like, very popular shonen shows. And even then, we're still missing stuff from plenty of series. And even Orange Rouge, they like handle, you know, like Haikyuu all the time. Why don't they make scales for Haikyuu? Whatever. Let's focus on this guy. He looks really good. Like, his facial expression might be one of the best we've seen today. It's so fiery and fierce. And that hair sculpt looks so fluffy that you want to touch it, you know what I mean? The rest of his costume, too. It just looks like it has tons of detail and shading on it. I particularly really love this armor piece right here. It has this really nice shiny blue to it. And I don't know, I'm just kind of like in love with this color palette. I think they did a really good job from the gradients to just like the shading overall. The pattern on his pants look really nice. I think this is an A tier for sure. The only reason I'm not putting it in S is because I know I'm never gonna buy it and it doesn't really like speak to me, but it's still a really great one. Though I wonder how many people do know of this character that would buy it. Maybe they should make some more popular characters. So if there was any opinion in this video that would get people kind of mad at me, it would be Yuki Soma from Fruitsbasket. Now this is made by Toy Tech, which in my opinion, they blow. You really shouldn't buy their stuff because they never really deliver and have the lowest quality as far as I'm concerned of anyone who makes Nendoroids. And they're asking 7,900 yen for this guy. A really flat, uninspired rendition of Yuki Soma. With a couple of faceplates, this is probably the best one where he's a little annoyed. This smiling faceplate is okay. Comes with his rat form, which looks 3D printed. Honestly, very bland and kind of shit looking, if I'm being honest. I think it's kind of disgusting that they would ask this much money for this much amount of effort, especially coming from a company that is not known for their quality control whatsoever. So while the Titan might have upset me the most, this one might be even worse. It's just a shame, right? I feel bad. It's not like I want to put this here. I just don't think they tried at all with this Nendoroid, and it's a bit of a bummer. This idea is still so funny to me. Turning the Transformers into Bishoujo girls, like who even thought of doing that? But it's working out pretty well, you know? I think Megatron looks better than Optimus Prime. Whereas I didn't really love the color scheme of Optimus Prime, which is, you know, unfair. That's just what the character looks like. I think the more grounded, realistic look of Megatron here is working out better in figure female form. And the coat that she's wearing is pretty badass. I like her pose too. She looks pretty sassy, pretty in business, and I wouldn't want to fuck around with her. So, I'm gonna give her a B tier. I think she is solid. Where is she on the list? You know what? Let's wrap up the Kotobukiya figures now. We'll just rapid fire them really quickly. Tales of Arise's Alphen is up next for a bit of a premium price tag as far as Kotobukiya is concerned. But I don't think I would hesitate to say that this is my favorite figure of the month from them so far. All that weathering, like you can see it right here, that just looks so good. And it really gives you that like battle-hardened warrior look that you're always looking for in armor. When armor's too clean and it doesn't look like they spent a day on the battlefield, it just looks lame. So the fact that he has that is really nice, in my opinion. I thought I had something better to say than that, but whatever. It's a cool pose too. I like how he's igniting the sword, though I do wish the sword's effect parts looked a little bit better. They don't look bad by any means, and I do like that the right glove is starting to heat up because of the fire that's being lit. It's cool. All of this is cool. I don't know this character yet. I haven't gotten to this point in the Tales of series, but I'm actually going to give this one an A. I think they did a great job with him so far. Maki from Jujutsu Kaisen. Pretty standard. A lot of these Jujutsu Kaisen figures are, unfortunately, though they come at a very affordable price tag. Now, I don't love her face, but her alternate faceplate is a lot better in my opinion. I'll bring an image of it up now. I don't have that in front of me. Doesn't really matter because I've seen it before. It's not that this one looks bad, but I do feel like as stern and as serious as she's supposed to be in this battle stance, it just feels like it's lacking a little bit of emotion that I wish was there. I'm still going to give it a B tier because I really don't have a problem with it. I just wish it was tuned like ever so slightly to be more to my liking. But considering that price tag, it's really hard to deny that like if you like Maki, this would not be a bad purchase at all. You know, props to Furyu for actually making a Lloyd figure, like at least some company is trying to do so, but he looks okay. Like I do like the suit. It has a lot of nice shading and the wrinkles throughout it look really good, and the pose where he's taking out the gun, it looks cool. But unfortunately, it all kind of falls apart at the face. Not only do I not like his facial expression, it doesn't really even look like him, but the color of his hair seems really dull. And not really the shade of yellow that it's supposed to be. It's almost leaning on a bit of a green, which looks a bit funky. And I don't like that. Now, we also have an Anya, and I'll go to her page right now. She is adorable. I think this one is really cute, but it's 14,000 yen, whereas Lloyd was a pretty affordable 17,000. Anya is 14,000. Now, that's not that expensive in the grand scheme of things. But if we look at this picture right here, she is half as tall. So it makes absolutely no sense why she's this expensive. They're really taxing you on how much you like Anya, I guess compared to Lloyd, even though like most people like Lloyd anyway. So I don't really understand it, but it does seem like a little bit of robbery. But back to the figure, I think she's cute. You know, this expression is probably not for everybody. It's not my favorite expression I've ever seen Anya, you know, express, but she's trying to be serious. She's trying to be like her dad. She's holding up the little ray gun, making like a serious face with her eyebrows. She's trying to be cool, like her daddy, and it's cute. But I can't really justify this price tag. As much as I do like this figure, it just feels like a little bit too much to ask for like a 4-inch figure or something, 100 millimeters. Like, yeah, that's pretty freaking tiny. So I'm gonna give Lloyd, where is he? I'm gonna give Lloyd a C because they kind of messed up his face. And I'm gonna give Anya a B because I do like her, but she's just way too overpriced for how tiny she is. She's basically a Nendoroid, but with a little bit more detail. Here we have the Lancer Nendoroid. He looks pretty good. What does he come with? His spear, the Noble Phantasm, a very angry faceplate. That one looks great, very expressive. That's about it. I guess you really can't expect that much from a Lancer Nendoroid. Like, what else could he really come with, you know what I mean? So it's a good sculpt, and the paint looks solid. But, I guess for like a slightly high price tag, I'm gonna give him a solid B. I think, that's a good place for him. Nothing, like, outstanding, but definitely good nonetheless. Hey, guess whose camera just died? Boy, does that suck. I have to do like 30 minutes of this again. And, to make things worse, I got a package in the mail today. And boy, it sure looks fucked up. Even worse, I bought this for someone else. So I bought something that is now crushed, unfortunately, and I'm sure I'm gonna talk about this in the future, but man, am I just not really in a good mood anymore. Let's just continue. I don't really even remember where I left off, but I'll cut this sentence off and then continue from here. Belle finds Anna from Shaman King. Just like their Yo, I'm really unimpressed by this one, though I think it is marginally better than that Yo figure. At least her face doesn't look terrible. But I think overall, there's a bit of cheapness to this, like, overall paint job that I'm taking a gander at. Like, this black dress just doesn't look very good. And even the creases don't look particularly convincing in any way. Like, I don't know, it doesn't really look like they should be there in some areas of it. I guess I kind of like that her muscles are a bit defined, but that's about it. It's a pretty boring pose. This base is about as, like, lifeless and dead as you can get. It's a couple of stones with a tiny bit of grass coming out of it. I don't know. I think this one really does deserve to be in the duds, so I'm gonna leave it there for now. Lena Inverse Haregi version. Now, I don't know what's the difference between a Haregi and a kimono. Maybe it's a bit more fancy, like it's her best kimono or something. But I actually do like this figure a lot. I think that's a bit of bias towards, like, this art style speaking, because I just kind of love the Slayer's art style, and I think they chose a bunch of really good colors to really make her pop. I think this kimono, or Haregi, looks very vibrant. I love the flower pattern on it. Like, sometimes, you know, flower patterns on kimonos can look a little bit, I'm gonna say gaudy, but I think the color combination here actually looks great, and I love the way they did up her hair. It looks really cute. And her winking face, if I can find it again, is just adorable. I mean, the Slayer's art style might not be for everybody. You might need to be a bit of a boomer to appreciate it, but I haven't really watched a lot of Slayers. I've only really seen it a little bit in passing, and I love a lot of the openings. But I think this figure's adorable, and I like the shade of the base. It's got a nice little hue of orange, red, and yellow on it with some cute flowers. So I'm actually going to give this an A. I think it's actually pretty dang good, and it's right up my alley. So this is the Miku Magical Mirai 2021 version. This might be the only Miku Nendoroid I talked about this month. And it's actually pretty cute. I kind of wanted to dismiss it at first, if I'm being honest, just because we get so many Miku Nendoroids. But this costume is actually pretty cute. And I specifically really love these hair clip speakers that she just has tied up to her twin tails. And even like the wire wraps around the body to make it look a little bit more interesting. There's a lot of flowers decorating her hair, and I do really like this gradient from like the typical shade of green to light blue that she has on her hair that goes really all the way down here to a really dark blue, which is not very common on Miku figures like at all. It's a cute costume as well. Faceplates are pretty cute. This one's definitely adorable. She seems to come with a butterfly as well. And I think that might be it. Yeah, it's just an overall really cute one. Actually, one more thing really quick. The flowers underneath her dress, I don't know how far that, like, rainbow goes, but we could see red, orange, yellow, and green flowers just, like, decorating the bottom of it. It's pretty dang good. So while I was initially gonna just like pass on this one, I might actually give it an A. I think it's a pretty good Miku Nendoroid. Eren Yeager, the final season version. Now this one's kind of tough to rank because it's actually not done yet, or at least they haven't shown us everything that comes in the package. So he gets 2 faceplates currently, a default one and a kind of shocked one. The hair down is a nice touch, and he even gets chains to keep him down from that one scene, which is pretty cool. But he also has this, which is a secret faceplate. Now we have no idea what it's about. But if it's from the previous season, then it should be fair game to show this. I want to imagine it's something kind of like Reiner, where it's full of dread or something, and maybe it's just like heavily detailed to the point where they really weren't done with it yet, but they wanted to promise that something more was coming. I can't imagine it's anything like revolving around a Titan form, just because we have a little Titan Nendoroid coming, and it would probably make more sense for that. But I don't know, I kind of have an idea if that's the way they were going, what this could be. But I guess for spoilers' sake, I won't talk about it. But it's solid. I don't think it's anything more than B right now. But hey, that other faceplate could bump it up. But I would love to see more when we eventually get there. Nendoroid Laffy. This is the DX version. There's one that comes with even less stuff if you want that instead. This is a 10,000 yen Nendoroid. And I kind of expected this to be better. But I'm extremely underwhelmed from this Azure Lane Nendoroid, because typically, like, all these boat Nendos get so many nice, like, accessories to play with, but Laffy doesn't really get much, and her faceplates aren't much to write home about either. Like, I think the best thing about this is kind of her hair sculpt. Like, I think there's some nice gradation going on there, but other than that, I don't know. I think this one is a bit disappointing. Like, I don't know. Do you guys like this Nendoroid? I feel like I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, so I don't really feel bad about saying I expected a little bit more from this one. So I'm going to give it C. It's not terrible or anything. It's still kind of cute. But, I don't know. For such a big price tag, I did expect a little bit more. Colors Blue, which is kind of a weird name, is a beautiful figure in my opinion. I think this one's got a lot of potential. Not very familiar with Solar Rain, but I hope they're a decent company if I'm going to back them up on this one. She's just got a great design. Like, I don't know if she's from something. I think it's just like artwork that they've decided to create and make into a figure. But she looks pretty badass. I like the leotard thing that she's wearing. It kind of reminds me of 2B a little bit. And you get a choice of either that like big-ass sword or a gun if you prefer that. Though I think the sword looks a little bit cooler. But you do get a giant sheath to display her with, so you always get to have that on the figure if you choose to have gun in hand instead. It seems like the dress can come off as well if you want to appreciate her crotch and that little mole by the crotch over there. I'm sure there's a better image of it somewhere. Even the barcode on her thigh is pretty interesting. There's a lot of like little things about this figure that don't feel like it's really ripping off of anything else. So it's pretty unique, and I do like it. And I'm sure a lot of people like this one too. I'm going to give this, I think, an A. I think it deserves the A, but maybe it's not my favorite of the month. Lupus Regina from Overlord. Now, I did just start watching this show, but I'm not very deep into it, so I don't really know a lot about this character yet. But that being said, I think this is a stellar figure, and I'm just going to throw her into S like immediately, because I really, really like this design. And not only that, I think they've definitely done a good job with like everything revolving like her outfit, and her face looks amazing. I love the red hair. And the hat's pretty cute too. I wish I could see that weapon a little bit better. It looks pretty badass, but I don't exactly know what type of weapon that is. But it still looks cool. But my favorite thing about this figure is honestly the base. Like the way it's angled in such a unique way that almost kind of gives you a little bit of a fright that it's going to tilt over a little bit. But I'm sure, you know, it's designed to not do that. It just looks so distinct and interesting. And it's cool that she's just like perched onto it, and it's really like sick pose. The My Chinese Dress figure from Spiritel. I talked a lot about this one as well, actually, in one of the One Fest videos, I'm pretty sure. And it had a lot of nice things to say. In fact, I think this might be their best figure. And I could talk all about how I like the composition of it, the dark moon setting that she's in, the really lovely ripples on the bottom of the base, the way they did the clouds. It looks really great. But I kind of went over all of this in that video. I think I put her in the thumbnail, so you could probably get more of my opinions in that one pretty easily. Wouldn't be too hard to search for it. But this is lovely. It looks like S-tier craftsmanship, absolutely. And I think if you like this series or this character, and even not, maybe you just like Chinese dress figures, then this one looks stunning, in my opinion. And I think she's an S-tier as well. Like, this is definitely one of the best of the month, guaranteed. Absolutely. I don't know why we're getting so many figures with pocket watches lately, but I'm not gonna start complaining about it, considering it's the best part of this figure, in my opinion. But this is Time Rabbit Yuki. It's a really interesting design. I could say that at the very least. This like Roman numeral clock just kind of circling her. I don't think I've ever seen that on a figure, so points for that. And the base itself is really cute. If I could find a better image of it right here, with like a bunch of stars popping out of it and these cute rabbits just kind of like encompassing her, it looks good. She's in this kind of like, I don't know, sleepwear, lingerie kind of outfit. It looks fine, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be very well painted, and that kind of kills it a little bit. Like, it looks cheap, and I don't like that. So I think it could be better executed in that sense. The clothes kind of imply that they could be taken off, but there's no image of like a cast off anywhere here, so I'm not exactly sure. But while it's a cute, composition, cute figure sculpt overall, I don't think the paint's there. So I'm gonna give it a C, because I just think it needs a better paint job. That's it. Hey, you know what sucks? Not this figure. It's absolutely beautiful. But this price tag of 36,000 yen, when I first saw it, I thought to myself, wow, only 36,000 yen. What a steal. I thought it'd be more. And that's really telling of how hard times have been in this frickin' hobby. Because someone like Eastream or Prisma Wing, they would probably charge closer to like 50,000 for this. I've talked about this one before. It like just went up as soon as I made that other video during Mega Expo. So I feel like I'm gonna be a little bit redundant going over it, but it's such a cool, interesting figurine, and I kind of want it, but I'm not sure if I want to commit to buying an Idolmaster figure that might bargain bin. They all seem to bargain bin for some reason, but I don't know if this like bombastic, really great sculpt from Alter is going to fall to the same fate, because it really does seem like they're putting in their best efforts to make this one as like hype as possible, and I think it's working. I think it looks pretty stunning, and I don't know, I think everything about this figure works. There's a bit of like contrasting design choices, I suppose, on this one, like the I don't know, the old school historic Japanese stuff, like the rope and the bell and all that stuff, and then she's got like a modern bomber jacket on. I'm drawing a blank as to what this mask is called. I know I've seen it a ton of times. It's even in like Demon Slayer, so we know it's like something from like, back in the day. But then we have just like the modern street light, this sign that says Stray Light. It looks super cool. This like digital effect that's kind of circling the base. It looks really good in my opinion. And I don't think the colors are harsh enough to clash with anything that's going on up here. I don't know if there's a zoom in on her face, but I also just think it's adorable. The tongue sticking out, just, being a little bit of a punk, being a little bit of a tease, just looks adorable to me, and I really do like it. I don't get the umbrella though. Could do without the umbrella, but it's kind of like acting like a sword in a sense. He's trying to be like a badass with it. Either way, I think this one is amazing and kind of worth the price if you're willing to put down that kind of that money for it. So it's another S tier. We had 3 in a row or something like that, so we're doing pretty good at the end here. I forgot about this one when I talked about the bunnies earlier, but we have the Black Prince Bonyari Sawayaki complete figure. For whatever reason, Azur Lane just has the best bunny figures in design. I'm not sure if they're gonna be the best bunny figures when it comes to like, the execution, the final product and whatnot, but how many bunny figures actually come with stools? I can't think of one. I'm sure there is. Don't hate me, but like, it's pretty unique, right? She's got this unique pose that only she could have because she's sitting on top of stools. The way the top of the bunny suit is designed is pretty different as well. I like these puffy sleeves or, I don't know, shoulder pieces that she's got on her. And I like her face. The hair color is nice too. It's just a good one. I think this is a solid bunny figure, absolutely. Do I want to give it an A tier or a B tier though? I'm not really sure. I guess I only said positive things about it. And I do complain a lot about like freeing figures not having interesting designs and they all kind of look the same in the end outside of a few exceptions. So considering this is an exception, I'm gonna give her the A. Though I guess it could be like in the middle if you really want to grill me about this one. It's fine, doesn't really matter. Nanachi 1/4 scale. So it's either the lighting or the shading on this figure that's making it look a little bit creepy to me, but something is slightly off in the execution here. I don't think it's that bad, but it doesn't look like, I don't know, anime accurate enough, and they're trying to make it somewhat realistic looking, which I don't think is the right call. I think otherwise it looks fine, but this is a very hefty price tag. 84,000 yen. I don't know who the hell is trying to buy this for 84,000 yen. If I insulted you, then I apologize, but I just think it's way too much money for what they're asking. It is an intricate design, like her helmet or her hat. Definitely has a lot of like unique details on it. The fur coat or whatever that's actually supposed to be is a ton of plastic that they have to mold as well. And her character design is not like a basic human. There is a lot going on here for sure. But 84,000 yen, I just think is way too much money, especially in a pose where she's just kind of like standing there, being a little boring. You know, I don't expect her to start dancing, but at this price tag, I do expect a little bit more. But that leaves me in a tough spot. Do I think this is a dud? Not necessarily. I just think the price tag is kind of crazy. I don't think it's like that bad, but I don't know. That price tag does kind of put it in like the I would never buy this category. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, I guess I'll just put it here. And then in my heart, if you want to argue with me, I'll be like, it could be better. It could be better. I made the mistake. So this is the Quintuplets Prisma Wing sets. There's 5 figures to collect, and I'm going to rank them all as 1 to save myself the hassle. Because there's really not a lot of, you know, differences between the 5 girls. Except for one of them, which arguably looks the worst. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. These are going to cost you 30,000 yen each, on top of whatever the shipping price is probably going to be, likely very high. So you're talking about a set that costs you over $1,000. Now, I don't think it's worth it at all, and I don't really think any bit of this figure warrants that price whatsoever. Like, yeah, the couch looks good, but I'm not buying a figure for a couch. Like, yes, that is a good set piece, absolutely. Combining them all together will look great. But we're here for the girls. And the girls kind of look like prize figures. They look at the most okay. But they're really not detailed enough to warrant this price tag. And I think it's a really hard sell to get anybody on board to buy the whole set. I'm sure there will be people who do so, absolutely. But I don't know exactly who that is. This one, the Ichika, who is one of my favorite girls in the 5, looks the worst. And I don't know what the hell this expression is supposed to convey, but she kind of looks like a doll. The other 4 girls look fine, right? But that's the best I could say. They look fine. You don't have to buy them all, but I still do think that the price tag is a bit much for what you're getting here. But I guess they're not terrible. Like, I could put them in the could be better tier because it's not a train wreck, right? Like, they're cute enough, and the couches do look great. They definitely put all their cards into that furniture. It's a really lovely color. But unless you want to buy those and use them for something else, then I think these are probably not worth getting, and you might want to save your money for something else. Hey, look at this. Look at this right here. Round face. It's not like Little Illustrious where it's a bit of an oval. So, at least for me, I think this one looks a lot cuter and a bit more natural. Now, I'm going to scroll down a little bit to the normal images of Kyoka. I gotta say, I think they did a phenomenal job with this one. She looks adorable. It seems like someone kind of pushed her down or something, and she's really flustered and kind of mad about it. But I really like the, I guess the dress, like the Japanese fashion. I think they said it was like old school Japanese fashion, right? These gradients that are on each part of the dress itself. They're different, they have different flower patterns on them, and they look lovely. There's even some like pearls that are on each part of the dress itself, which is just a nice little detail. I like pearls. I love that these like, I guess hair clips are kind of, I don't know, bent out of shape because she fell down and she's, I don't know, not in the best state at the moment. And this scepter that she's holding on to, let me find just like a clearer image of it. Looks super cool. The clear purple plastic and the clear blue plastic, those both look really nice attached to that gold paint. And the, I guess the top of it is kind of like demonic in a sense. I don't know a lot about this character, but I think she's pretty dang good. Also, before I forget, this base, nice and grassy, cutesy little flowers on it. It's actually raised to let you view it at a better angle when you're likely staring at it from above. So it's just gonna let you view and appreciate your figure a little bit more. It's kind of smart thinking for these like sitting down figures. More companies should definitely do that. So I'm gonna put this one an S. I think she's pretty dang good. The 52,000 yen E-Stream Miku. I gotta be honest, that is a terrible price. But I have grown to like this one a little bit more after like the initial rage of seeing that price tag. The way this figure works basically is that she's stepping on the base and there's a lot of these like triangle fragments flying all around her. And it does look pretty dynamic and cool. At first I didn't think it was like, I don't know, clear as to what I should really focus on with this figure, but over time I did kind of grow to appreciate the way that this figure just generally looks. She's got a nice hair sculpt, as most Mikus do. It's very voluminous and flowing all over the place. Her eyes kind of look glossy, like almost somewhat like a glass reflection in a way, but I'm sure it's just like a really shiny decal, but I do like them quite a bit. The clear plastic shirt, I'm not really a big fan of that. I think it looks a little bit cheap, honestly, but I always say I'm a hater of that stuff, so whatever, personal bias. I do think this part's kind of cool though, like the way she's sliding the phone around her and then like snapping a photo or something. I imagine that's what's going on, but it does make for a cool sliding effect nonetheless. So yeah, it's good, but is it 52,000 yen good? I don't know. It's very vibrant, full of color, and it is interesting, but I think I gotta like stop it at the B tier, because otherwise, I don't know, I think I'd be praising it a little too much in A. As far as wedding dress figures goes, this is one of the better ones I've honestly seen in a while, and there's two reasons as to why. The first is the red lining of the dress itself. Like whatever type of material that's supposed to be, whether it's velvet or satin or whatever, it looks amazing, and that contrast between like the pearlescent white and the red just makes the dress pop so much more than if it was like one tone of white or a couple of tones of white. It's a really smart choice. The other thing I like about it is the base itself. This really nice photo frame decorated with flowers. Now, at first I thought that was it. We saw this one a while ago, and I don't know if it was shown off back then, but maybe I didn't pay attention enough. But we could see in this image here, you can actually take that piece and put it behind her, and now make it like a photo frame as a bit of a backdrop. Now, it is crooked, but I think that lends to the overall like interesting design of the sculpt itself. So it's a really good dress and idea. Unfortunately, I think her face is really dull, and I don't like it. It doesn't really lend itself to looking like the happiest day of her life. I mean, that's what I expect from wedding dress figures. Either you're really embarrassed about it, or you're just like madly in love, as you should be when you're getting married, right? It's just not really a convincing expression for me, and I'm not really the biggest fan of this veil either. Like, I don't know, it looks okay, but it is like unlike the dress where it's one chunk of white, semi-clear plastic. I don't know. So like the top of the figure, the head, I don't really like, but the dress and the base I really do like. So I'm left in a position of, I guess, confusion. I don't really know where I want to place this one. I think I'm ultimately gonna put it in the pretty good tier. I guess like higher in B tier, though I haven't been really paying attention to where I place these figures, as that doesn't really matter that much. She's good. She's definitely good, but I think she's just not good enough to make it into my A tier. And finally, from Good Smile Arts Shanghai, we have Wei and Lan in this like really beautiful double figure that costs like 60,000 yen. I feel like I see this kind of figure from them all the time. They take these really pretty Chinese characters and then just give them like the best figure ever. Having the two of them makes this a very pricey piece, without a doubt, but like the duality of it where both of them are on their own side, one's a bit darker, one's a bit lighter, and there's some really interesting things that go along with the base itself. Like I think behind them, there's just some cute little rabbits hanging out. Totally doesn't need to be there. You're like not gonna see that ever, but it is cute and it is appreciated nonetheless. As we can see while we're down here, some really nice water effects, the little ripple from the cloth, all that smoke actually looks pretty good as well. And as we scroll up, I mean, they're beautiful. What else is there to really say about it? It's a top tier sculpt in my opinion, at a top tier price tag, but, I mean, you could do much worse. It is technically 2 figures in one. I don't think the price is ridiculous considering what you're getting, but it is great. It's not for me whatsoever. I'm not going to buy this, but it does feel more like art than anime figure, if you know what I'm saying. So I think, out of obligation, I'm going to make it my final S tier figure. And we're done. So that is everything that I wanted to rank. And I'm not really going to touch this. I think my rankings are fine. This video actually took me way longer than I thought it would, because I'm trying not to make it too long, but I have problems doing so. So let me know what you think about this in the comments. Scream at me at how bad my opinions are, or let me know if you agree with most of this. I'm sure you don't agree with all of it. And let me know if you like this format and you'd like to see this kind of video again. Though keep in mind that the next pre-order roundup is kind of approaching pretty quickly. I may revert back to that older style just for now, regardless of what people say, just because I might not have the time to do this again. I'm surprised it took me longer. I thought it would take me less time, but it is what it is. I don't really mind. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have yourselves a good day. Take care, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.